And we're away here in the Wyfold Challenge Cup. It is the Tideway Scullers School versus Oriel Kensington Rowing Club.
Coxless 4 coming down the Temple Island stretch. Once again, we are seeing this common theme in the coxless boats, just finding it much more tricky to manage. Maybe the thing we're also not quite seeing is what that start is like. So I know at the start there's not as much tree cover, and so getting a line in a coxless boat may be a little bit trickier. We're going to see the effects of this wind as we come through Temple Island. Both crews nice and lively, up in the high 30s by the looks of things from the rate of striking.
Yeah, big correction there. We saw the umpire's flag go up for Oriel to correct their steering, who came really far across into the middle and almost impacted Tideway, but were able to get back onto their side. So it hasn't cost them all that much, Cam. I mean, that would have taken some speed off the start, so perhaps they would have had more advantage off the start had they not had that steering correction, but they're currently sitting about a canvas up on the Tideway Scullers School over in the Barks station.
Absolutely, and one of the lovely things about rowing that we just can't see is what the energy cost of that has been. So it may be the case that they've actually just deployed a little bit more sauce into the tank to just to really get that hull speed nice and high from the correction. So we will see what happens as we come down through the course. Also lovely in the Oriel Kensington boats, we can see that lovely bucket rig, so 2 bowside oars in the middle of the boat, with a more traditional rig over in the Tideway Scullers School. Ever rowed in a bucket rig?
I have, or not in a 4, I haven't in an 8, which is always interesting. I find it difficult personally to follow a bucket rig, but it seems to be working here for Oriel, although I've just been watching these last few strokes, and to me, Oriel seems to be really pushing the rate out of the back end, and Tideway Scullers just had that real patience. They weren't flustered about being let out at the start, and they just seemed to be a little bit more on top of things. And we've just come down to the live shots now, and we can see that is exactly how it's played out. The Tideway Scullers School now with a very handy lead over Oriel Kensington Rowing Club.
Yeah, commanding lead there for Tideway Scullers School. Looks exactly as you say. It looks as though there's a lovely sense of patience I get from watching the Tideway Scullers School at Wyfold 4 there. Just really making sure those oars are locked in nicely. And if you just look particularly on that bow side of the Scullers 4, just stepping out of those puddles, really beautiful, not clipping any of that water. Just this little sense of hesitancy and urgency from that AK bucket rig Wyfold 4 as we see that shot. And there's a lovely shot of Tideway Scullers with their backs coming towards us. So Oledimeji, Ogunyoye, A.N. Lowther, A.F. Franchini, Didi, Gallet, showing us how it's done in the Wyfolds. Thank you, boys.
We see a little steering correction there from Tideway Scullers School. Tricky, gusty conditions out there. We can see the flags really fluttering down the course. You can see the gusts along the river.
Glorious looking red grave bar in the background with the flags. But you can see it looking further up your picture, you can see that the rustling of those trees, and I do think that this wind is building throughout the morning, so I think we're in for a treat from a commentators and spectators point of view to see a few lively events. And if I was coaching or if I was boating now for later races, I would just be having a little bit more awareness of ensuring that when we're in the race, we're 100% focused on every single stroke so that nothing untoward happens and we have a good race. See those flags coming through regatta enclosure, just hitting that stroke side of the Tideway Scullers School 4. Lovely shot of AK in that bucket rig.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit more, but we keep talking about how exciting it's going to be as the weather gets more difficult. The rowers are going, no, no, and we're going, yeah, yeah.
Just licking our lips and yeah, I mean, it's what makes Henley so unique, isn't it? It's the crew versus crew. Anything can happen, and one small mishap here or there and you're into the booms, and that's your entire regatta, for some your entire season over. And I think that added level of pressure that we don't get anywhere else. It's not like multi-lane racing where you've got a repechage if you get your heat wrong. You have one shot. To quote the 8 Mile Eminem, you've one opportunity, you have to get it right on the day, and it looks like Tideway Scullers have got that right today on Tuesday.
Yeah, they're looking very patient now. They really managed their energy well through that race, composed out of the start, and were able to just do the work, truck through the middle section to take a commanding lead over Oriel Kensington Rowing Club. They're a strong crew. They've progressed well through the season. They've been very competitive in the heads along with wins at provincial regattas. So a great start there from Oriel Kensington Rowing Club to make it through to Henley, but unfortunately losing this round to the Tideway Scullers School. And now the shoes on the other foot, Cam, because we have an Aussie crew here, the King's School Parramatta, in the buck station in this round of the Fawley against Marlow Rowing Club B.
I heard you're a Marlow fan there. That's what I heard. Grapevine was the, Sarah's a big Marlow fan.
Look, I spent a bit of time in Marlow the last few days, my first time there, and saw the beautiful rowing club there. But my heart will be with the Aussies. The King's School, a very strong program in Australia. They're based on the Parramatta River in Sydney, winning, of course, earlier in the day today in the PE, their first 8. This crew is effectively the next ranked crew, so year 11 students, I believe. So they'll be looking to be in the first 8 for Kings next year. So young up-and-coming rowers. But they're really struggling here to match it to the crew from Marlow, who are looking very strong as we move to these live pictures now.
Yeah, and although a B crew in inverted commas in Marlow Rowing Club, they're first at the Nat School's J16 quads, first at the Junior Sculling Regatta, second at the Junior Sculling Head, and 8th at the school's Head of the River in J18 division. So Alexander Foman, S. Cook, Monty Sanders, Tom Furlonger doing a really nice job of quad sculling here, particularly at this junior level. I'm very impressed at what I'm seeing. That Felipe hull is moving along lovely and nice, and actually on cue, thank you very much directors, is that we have a fantastic shot of that stern, which is moving really nicely through the water on top of the popple, just getting those blades out of harm's way on each stroke. You can see as well, we can just look at that wind picking up a little bit of chop, and the King's School just coming through one of those windy patches at the moment, looking at as though that they're relatively unaffected, doing a nice job.
Yeah, working really hard here. King's School trying to get back onto terms, but they've really come up against a class outfit here from Marlow Rowing Club B, as you say, Cam. The B crew from Marlow, they're performing very strongly, good sculling experience, whereas these boys from Kings, they predominantly row sweep. So in the AAGPS competition, it's there's no sculling, it's sweep rowing that they do. So these boys would be in the junior 8, I think, looking to make it into the second or first 8 once they go into year 11 and year 12. So I think about 16, 17 years of age, these boys from Kings, and they're really, I guess, here to act as reserves for their top ranked 8 that we saw win earlier this morning.
And Sarah, question for you is obviously in the UK, we live very near Henley. It's not a massive thing getting our boats to just trail them down on the motorway. What is it for these sorts of foreign crews, so particularly coming from Oz, making the big trip? Is it a big deal, huge event that we need to kind of have a lot of logistics and support for? Talk us through all of the preparation and the planning that goes in for these clubs and schools to come over for Henley.
Yeah, so it is a big thing, particularly for the Aussies and the Kiwis. Our season runs at a different time. And sorry, we just have coming into the line here, Marlow Rowing Club, as the King's School is coming up to the finish. Our season ends in March, so the last time these guys would have raced would have been at the Australian Rowing Championships at the end of March. So there's a couple of months there where they're just training on their own, not a lot of racing, which does make it really difficult to sort of get up and prepare for Henley. Whereas I think for many of the British crews, this is, a peak and at the I guess, pinnacle time of the season. So it is tough from that perspective, but we have the result there. Marlow Rowing Club B defeating the King's School Sydney in the Fawley.